Hello, princesses, and welcome back to Not Fit for Print Beauty with me, Rebecca. Today we are going to look at the Fenty Pro Kisser Soft Matte Powder Foundation. I was holding it upside down for a moment there, but you know what it is. This is the second matte foundation in under a week. We haven't seen a ton of foundation releases like we did a few seasons ago, but funnily enough, the last two big ones were both matte. And the other I am speaking of course, is the Gucci Natural Finish Fluid Foundation. And today we're going to compare them, but today we're going to focus mostly on the Fenty. I do like this product, and I do like it a little bit more than this more fussy, but it's Gucci, it's supposed to be fussy, foundation. So let's talk about this and all the different ways to wear it. That's why I like this foundation, is for its versatility. It is a compact, so let me just open it up for you. So we have a nice mirror, of course. We have the powder foundation, and then underneath it there is even a little pad, which as you see I haven't used because it's not my thing, but it can be your thing. There are a bunch of different ways to apply this. So I went with shade 210, which, spoiler alert, as I often say, I already have on now. I picked this shade online. I think I did a good job. Rihanna at Fenty is very sensitive to all of our needs and for every shade and color that we all come in, princesses. And this foundation comes in, hold on to your seat, 50 shades. I mean, honestly, kudos. 50 shades. You know, when there are companies that say, oh, it's too hard to make all those complexion shades, all you have to do is just say Fenty, and everybody has to shut up. 50 shades, fantastic. But I was a little bit worried because when you get to the nuances of 50 shades, I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't be able to find my shade online. It was a breeze. If you go to the Fenty site, not only do they break it down into neutrals and cool and warm tones, she also puts pictures up of folks who have similar skin tone and hair color, and it actually made it quite easy. I picked the lady who looked the most similar to my skin, and that was 210, if I didn't say, and I mean, not bad. Maybe I could have done a little bit differently, but this is chosen online. I'm pretty happy, bronzed over it a little bit, but I'm thrilled. Okay. So here's how I put it on today, and we are going to do a demo. I like a very light coverage, and the best way to do a light coverage with a powder foundation such as this is to just take a nice fluffy brush. I use my Sonia G Sky brush and just tap it in there and just go in and put it on like you would a powder, and that's it. I didn't put anything under it, nothing. Okay, you could also kind of buff it in. This is the Phase 1, also Sonia G, and you can buff in and stamp in and get a little bit more. Of course, there's two other ways to get more coverage. That's what I was talking about. This is a really versatile foundation. One way is to apply it with a beauty blender or the included sponge. And the great thing is that, look at that, I'm blinding you, I'm sorry, but the mirror is kind of double. I wanted to point that out. So we have a mirror that goes with the foundation and then another mirror that goes with the powder. So you can apply this with any sort of a beauty sponge. And the other way to apply it reminds me of the old school MAC powder foundation. Raise your hand if you were ever a fan of that MAC powder foundation. It's still made, and it's fantastic. It's, I guess, the studio fix, right? And the best way to use that is actually over a liquid foundation. And you can do that with this. In fact, I think that is how Rihanna wears it. So you can take a liquid foundation, please not anything as matte as this, good Lord, it would be like a desert on your face, but a regular old, just kind of natural finish, not matte foundation, and you could take this over the top and get a little bit of extra coverage. And this applies beautifully over a liquid foundation and beautifully over any sort of a liquid highlight. For instance, not today, but in the days that I've been trying this, I've also tried it with the Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter underneath, and because it's made to go beautifully on top of liquid foundation, it went on top of that liquid highlight beautifully as well and gave it a little body and life. It is, and it is very lightweight and nice and comfy, reapplicable, touch-upable, and extraordinarily versatile. So as you can see, I am really a big fan of this. It's the afternoon now, so I gave it one extra day, and I have worn it for 3 days prior, and I am pretty pleased. As you can see, looking at my face, it's definitely a matte look. And I really didn't put a lot of highlight, and like I said, nothing underneath. And I've been wearing it all day. And before I came on camera just now, I touched up with my brush just a little bit under there, because I always need that. But I didn't need it as badly as I did with the Gucci. So let's put a little bit on. I'm going to come back with nothing on my face, and then let's talk about it and really kind of compare it to the Gucci foundation and see what we come up with, so stay right there. Okay, we're back, and I have literally nothing on my face, and much to my chagrin, I have quite a few blemishes. I've kind of been discussing that lately, and I just think it's fate's way of making me a really good foundation tester, because that's when we rely on foundation the most. Okay, there are, as I mentioned, a number of ways to wear a powder foundation. What I have done today is I have chosen the way that I would normally put it on, and that the way that I have been wearing it. The best test is how you're comfortable. So as I probably mentioned, I got shade 210, which I thought was going to be a tad bit too light, but you'll see, I actually think it works, especially for wintertime, which might not be the time that you want a powder foundation, but it is winter. So let me turn my mirror around here. And I am going to use just basically a fluffy, almost cheek brush. And I'm going to dip it in. I'm not using the sponge, but I never really use sponges that come with it. And I am going to just basically powder all over my face. For me, this is how I would wear this foundation. Now remember, I like a very light coverage, and you can get as light or as not light, that would be heavy, I'm even going over the eyes, as you want with this foundation. Now, what do you think? So far, so good. Let me see. Now, does it look dry? I don't really think so. I mean, it needs some concealer. Let's do a little more. And let's even, just for the sake of experiment, let's even take this Face One brush with the flat and even buff some in. So what I'm doing now is just kind of buffing in little circles around. And again, I need some concealer. Let me turn this mirror away to see what you think. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some makeup over it, and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about it and about my thoughts after trying it worn this way for a few days now. Okay, so we're back. As you know, I just really used, for the most part, this overall fluffy powder brush, and then just made it a little bit heavier. I put some concealer only under my eyes and on a few of the more noticeable blemishes that I have, and just a little bit of blush, a little bit of eye makeup, you know the drill. Let's compare this with the Gucci, and we'll talk about how they wore. For a powder, I feel that this Fenty powder is very creamy and light. It is not cakey, and I really went to town. It is not cakey over foundation. I also did try this over my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I'm shade 3, and it was perfect. So it goes on over the liquids very, very well. This is, again, just a powder. I didn't even put a primer on. This is straight onto my skin, which again is normal to dry, but it is a little bit colder right now in California, so it can go a little bit dry. I've been having to moisturize a little bit more. So if we're going to talk about the two most recent matte foundations, we would be comparing this Fenty powder foundation to the Gucci, both mattes. My preference is this little guy right here. My preference is the Fenty. To me, it is a powder that performs like a powder. It's what you'd expect, and it's light and airy. I don't feel it caking up or leaving as much in this area. When I reviewed the Gucci, which I do actually like, I mentioned that the Gucci foundation, which is a liquid matte, and liquid mattes are a little bit more foreign to our way of thinking than a powder. You expect a powder, when a powder is matte, it is not shocking. When a liquid kind of dries down matte, it can be a little bit more off-putting, especially because of late we are also used to very dewy foundations. So this Gucci is going to be more appropriate to you princesses who do run a tad bit oilier. I like it, but I do have to use my Tatcha serum stick to kind of touch up around here. With this Fenty, if it wears, and I really didn't have it wearing too much, you can just top it up with the Fenty itself because this pops into your bag and is so easy to use and touch up with. And I don't find it as cakey. Is this great for my dry-faced friends if you have super dry skin? Probably not your first option, but this one isn't either. Just because it's a liquid, don't be fooled. I am, as I say, normal to dry, and I had no trouble with it. I find it extremely comfortable, not itchy, not cakey. This one is a little bit less comfortable. This foundation, the Gucci foundation, is matte and pretty. It's just a bit fussier and a little bit more high maintenance than the Fenty. 40 shades, 50 shades. So we don't really have too many complaints on the shade choices. But if I did have to, if I were forced to pick one matte foundation, then it looks like matte is all that in this coming up season. I was impressed with my own rhyme. Then I would definitely go with this Fenty. And I chose my shade and I don't think I did too badly with it. I do like that this is a touch up on the go, though I personally am not a fan of using these little sponges that come with it. It does come with that sponge, as I probably mentioned earlier, but also a mirror. It's a compact, it's easy, and I think it's really, really pretty. I will probably like this even more in the spring and summer, but I am not mad at it now, and my vote is thumbs up on the Fenty and thumbs kind of sideways on the Gucci. I like the look of it, but it's just, like I said, more high maintenance. Tell me if you picked up either of these matte foundations and what your feelings on matte foundations are in general, princesses. Please give my video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and as I always say, my goodness, if you haven't already, could you please give me a subscribe? It really helps out my channel, and I so much appreciate your support. See you all very soon in the next video. Bye-bye.